Are you tired of the same old weekend routine, looking for something new and exciting?
Then get ready to rev your engines at Throttle and Swing, the ultimate entertainment destination at NOLA Motorsports Park.
That's right, we're talking an 80 configuration go-kart track that'll have you feeling like a pro racer.
But that's not all. We've also got a brand new 18-hole mini golf course and a state-of-the-art arcade.
Delicious craft pizza kitchen and a full bar. Think unique cocktails, gourmet coffee, and the perfect place to refuel after all the fun.
Plus, relax in our outdoor lawn area with the playground, live music stage, a huge television for watch parties, and free Wi-Fi too. It's perfect for work or play.
And if you're planning a party, Throttle and Swing can handle it. Any size gathering, we've got you covered.
So, what are you waiting for? Head over to NOLA Motorsports Park on the West Bank and experience the unparalleled excitement of Throttle and Swing.
Throttle and Swing at NOLA Motorsports Park. Get your adrenaline pumping. Chocolate lovers rejoice. Scandalous Chocolates has arrived in New York with 4 sensational new varieties.
That's right. They aren't just chocolates. They're an experience. Premium edibles crafted with the finest ingredients, blending sweet and savory sophistication.
We're talking 20 milligrams premium chocolate lips, sleekly packaged, perfect for on-the-go indulgence. Nuts, fruits, caramel, it's an affair you can take anywhere.
At just $10, it's an affordable luxury. Fair trade, single origin, gluten-free, and vegan. Find Scandalous Chocolates at quality dispensaries like Travel Agency in Gotham.
Scandalous Chocolates. When you're in New York, awaken your senses and delight your palate.
The affair you could take anywhere. Scandalous. Are you looking for a unique New Orleans experience?
Check out New Orleans artist Frenchie at FrenchieLive.com.
Featuring original artworks, prints, and more. See it all at www.frenchielive.com.
Live event bookings are available. The gallery is open by appointment only.
And for private showings or parties, email info@frenchielive.com.
Experience the art. Experience the artist. Frenchie Gallery. www.frenchielive.com.
Hey, Jay, you hungry? Like really hungry?
Yeah, I'm in the mood for oysters. Hey, let's check out Trenas.
Oysters? I love oysters.
Trenas features a wide variety of local oysters. Char, grilled, baked, and on the half shell, even the famous oyster log.
Oyster log? I heard about that. You get 6 each of their signature baked oysters, plus 6 fried, all on a cypress slab?
42 oysters. We are going to love it. Trenas is located in the Hotel Intercontinental, 444 St. Charles Avenue, right on the parade route.
Sweet. When can we go?
7 days a week for lunch and dinner, plus a mimosa brunch on weekends, and happy hour daily from 3 to 6.
Happy hour? Nah, you're talking my language.
Great drinks, great wine list. An award-winning chef, Matthew Farmer, leads a team serving the best seafood in New Orleans. Trenas.
Trenas. Got it. Let's go.
All right, here we go. We're live in the 504 Fan Cave. Give us a little whistle. But we got a vibe, y'all. We got a vibe. I can tell by your smile that you're in my tribe. We got a vibe.
What up, Trace?
Yeah, welcome back to the Only Good Vibes News Network, where we take you on a little journey into good vibes in the New Orleans area. We talk to people who are spreading the love, who are putting good vibes in people's lives. And the way we like to start is with our man Whistle here, who's going to do a little Zen card reading for us. Set this interview off right.
Absolutely. We always try to get the vibe right, Tracy, as far as the energy. And like Jamie said, we are putting positive vibes in people's lives, and just the world's full of so much negativity all the time. We just want people for 1 hour just to come and think positive about things. And what our view is, we learn to look at all the people doing positive things in New Orleans and Louisiana, because that's where we're from, and that's all we can really talk about and work with. So you have definitely been one of those people who's been a shining light for a long time for Jay and I, and we're excited to have you here too. But we're going to kick this off with some just Zen card. There's a word on the front and a definition on the back, or a saying. It ain't really a definition, but it just kind of armor for our show. So we keep everything very nice and positive. So the first one we pulled is balance. Balance. And it says, the center is not always the point of balance. When you find that place where balance is achieved, all results in all situations, there is no conflict. Everything rests without strain. So, I never thought about it like that. I read this card maybe like 5 or 10 times. But the second part here, peace will result in all situations, and there is no conflict. Everything rests without strain. That's a good thing for me, because I think I think about that, but I never like really thought about it. Like, if you just stay calm, if you just, like, not too up, not too down. That's kind of my motto, to be honest with you. Like, you can't be too upset, you can't be too sad. That's being a Saints fan, I guess.
Sure.
Right. That's really got me to that middle level balance. And then joy. Joy and balance, Tracy. That's some good cards that we pulled with you here, bro. So, joy is inside of you, not an attainment of things desired, nor an achievement of goals made, but in a simple feeling that lies within you. Know that joy is unaffected by outer circumstances, and joy will be yours forever. I feel that vibe all the time, dude, honestly. I'm always happy regardless. No, I mean, I got to look at things for what they are.
Balance and joy. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Tracy, 2 good cards, man. Look at you. Balance and joy. Tracy Freeman.
Tracy, you've been a cultural sort of steward on the New Orleans scene for quite some time now. You started out early on as a trumpet player. Is that correct?
No, drummer.
Drummer. Oh,
Yeah.
Okay. So you were a drummer first.
Never really was into performing.
Okay.
So I was more into production. I grew up, my uncle owned an electronics store or a repair shop in the 70s. So I was always around it. So I was always interested in that side of the production part of it.
And when did you first when did you first make your first recording of New Orleans music?
Of New Orleans music.
Or of any music for that matter.
Any music. Well, I started kind of just messing around, in high school. Fortunately, I met Harry Connick Jr. And I was doing audio for the theater production at Jesuit High School.
Okay.
So I was doing sound for that. And we used to just mess around and record stuff in his apartment. He had a piano in his apartment. I remember James Singleton used to be over there a lot, and we would just record just stuff, and ultimately I ended up going on the road with him as a road manager when he was a solo act.
What year was this?
1988, I would say, something like that.
I was just out of high school.
Yeah, so was I. And I was working at a record store at the time, Sound Warehouse, and I was going to college, and I would leave to go do that.
That's why you're famous, bro.
That's why I failed out of college. but that didn't really help with the college career. But so that just his career kind of picked up, and I kind of went with it, and ended up going on the road with him and getting into more of the production with him. It all just happened at one time, really.
It just like you got out of college, you went on the road, and the next thing you know, Harry's becoming a big star, and you're sticking with him as his producer.
Yeah,
that's sort of how that went.
Yeah,
cool. And who did you work with after Harry? Who was your first? Like Harry, you sort of knew coming into the thing, so that was sort of a comfortable space. Who was your first project that you had to go sort of outside your comfort zone with?
Well, there was a lot of the guys in his band started getting record deals, like Russell Malone, who has recently passed away, unfortunately. He was one of the first projects I did outside of Harry. Leroy Jones, who was playing trumpet with Harry at the time. I did some work with Monty Alexander, who was a piano player from Jamaica.
Wow. I didn't think about that.
I did a record with this guy. His name is Danny Briant.
Okay.
He's from France, and I got that through some people I met with Sony in France. And then just, a lot of local stuff started coming after the fact. When I kind of got off the road, which was probably the late 90s when I stopped doing the road stuff.
So what did all the road stuff entail? Like, here you are, this guy out of high school, and you're going, okay, now we're going big. I know you're like the manager that's like organizing everything? Or
No. It was. I was the stage manager technically.
Oh, okay. So everything.
So in the beginning, there was really 3 people. There was a sound guy, a monitor guy, and a stage manager, and that meant setting up a lot of stuff and
taking it down.
Doing a lot of more. Yeah, and so it was a lot of learning on the fly.
Shannon Powell make you set up his drums?
Shannon Powell made me set up his drums. Yeah, he did. He did, and.
Shannon is a special dude. He was really good from the word go, huh?
Shannon's awesome. You know,
he's prime. I mean, I've seen him do some things, and I just did, like, for me, with musicians, it blows my mind when I'm staring at him, and I'm like, it just really like kind of not registering, like a Gate Mouth Brown. Like, you're looking at him, like it just looks so unorthodox. Like, is that guy really playing that stuff? Like, that's
like, where's that sound coming from?
Right. Yeah. And that's like, when I look at Shannon, the way like drummers, like Hurl and Riley and all those guys, I know they're tight buddies, but it just like it seemed like simple is more, like less is more with drums.
Yeah, I mean, Shannon is a an icon. I mean, there's so many words you can use to describe him, but like he is there is a link. There's a lineage there that exists to a thing here that I can't say that it's going away, but it's
not as strength. The strength isn't there as much as it was because of probably Katrina and a whole bunch of other people growing and buying and not passing the torch in a sense. But what I wanted to ask you was this: with all the drummers and all the musicians that you that you've helped with, when was the first time that you felt like this is it? Like, you may have been like, you're like, yeah, I went on tour with them. It was good. I was making, but you're like, this is my gig. Like your Grammys and all this other stuff you have now. Like, when did you feel like I could do something with this?
I don't know if I even feel that way today.
That's a good thing.
I think that I'm still, learning and pushing and never, I'm never going to be satisfied.
You hear that, kids?
Yeah.
You hear that, kids?
Keep pushing.
This guy's got a lot of stuff, and he is still pushing, and he still feels like there's stuff to learn. I got chills on that one, but continue if you want.
There's always something to learn. You can't really, if you relax, you're going to get left behind. Really.
I feel that sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, I don't practice whistling anymore, but I got to practice.
Yeah, well, that's definitely a niche that you got going on there.
Yeah, you've really had a knack over the years, Tracey, of working with some of the biggest names to come out of New Orleans and sort of like being pivotal in helping in their careers. Was there anyone who came along that you were just really taken with, that had a musical thing about them that was so special? I mean, you've worked with Kermit Ruffins and Rebirth Brass Band, and you started with Harry Connick Jr. Is there anyone who came along over the years who just really stood out to you as an exceptional talent that you needed to capture? When you heard them play, you're like, I'm making a record on this guy.
It's weird. I never really thought that way. It's more of how, just the big picture. Like, what are they doing? The word producer today is a funny thing, and I sort of have like, I'd rather mix music today. I'd rather not, but I will still produce. But a producer in modern terms is a guy who's making beats or he's making the music. It's kind of always been like that, but today it's getting more pronounced because of stuff you can do at your house. I don't want to do that. I mean, if the artist can't create their own music, then what are they doing?
Right.
That's how I feel about that, and I'll probably get some pushback on that.
So you prefer to sign on to a project and an artist as more of a sort of an engineer and a facilitator, not someone who's like, okay, well, this is the arrangement we're going to go with on this song.
There's no need for it. If you got to do that, then who are they? And I mean, I'm sure you can help people at times. You could see something happening, but you don't have to. I've seen so many people in sessions like talking about, the H session is, we have to change this and change. They're just talking the talk, you don't really have to, unless you really hear something that you can add to, there's no use in saying anything, just let it go. See what happens. The end result, if it's bad, you fix it. If it's great, you don't touch it,
So that first swing, without so much manipulating, you just kind of flow. And then you see what you got, and then if you have to work something or rework it, then that's probably the more organic way.
You can always tell if something's there, even though it's not perfect. You can you can figure it out. I mean,
You
it's
feel
not-
it,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
You're like, okay, this has potential.
But like we talk about the Rebirth. I mean, there was both you guys know I've seen them for 30 something years in
Yeah.
one place, right? And I mean, it was energetic. It was exciting. Cutting it. Yeah, I mean, there was a moment in time where that was just like the thing, you know, and so that was really fun to capture that. I mean, that was like some real, you know,
Groundbreaking New Orleans kind of
it was it. I mean,
jewel
that
you found.
It was it, and you know, the first time I saw Rebirth was I was doing sound at the Toulouse Theater. And
back in the game.
And they would play in Jackson Square, and I would just sit out there. I didn't know who they were. And I was just out of high school. I had no idea who these guys were.
Really?
And I was like, man, this is unbelievable. Yeah.
So you just kind of, when you rolled up on them, you're like, whoa, like.
They were just, I would park on the corner right there by the theater, and they were right there in front of whatever Cabildo or whatever one that is. And so I'd heard them for years, you know,
Oh, okay.
before I even, I guess there was the mid to late 90s when I kind of started working with them through Basin Street Records, which is another entity that I worked with here that was kind of promoting a lot of local music.
So your name is synonymous when it comes to people talking about music and producing and like wanting to come up and level up and see what's out there and where the standards are. When did you really feel like you kind of you probably don't think this, but I do, maybe Jamie does, is you're the person, one of the people that is really respected in music. So whenever you get your stuff, like so people started to say, hey man, we want you. Because I know there's a lot of people, like almost every person that I think about is you work with or have advised and still to this day. And I think obviously it's because of the organic way that you do it. But when did you feel, because I'm trying to figure out like, coming from just a regular person to like a standard where you are now, like when did you feel that shift? And like they said the 80s when you got Rebirth or when you got involved with Rebirth. And so Rebirth, before you got involved with them, did they have any managers? Did they have anybody, any albums or things?
Yeah, they did. They were on Rounder Records. And I think a lady by the name Allison Miner, I think, was their manager in the beginning. And I guess Scott Billington may have been the producer of the first couple of records on Rounder. I'm not really sure. I think he is.
I think so.
But I don't know, man. I just think I'm part of something. I don't necessarily think I'm separate from something.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's what you should feel like.
Yeah.
You know, you should feel like I'm just a normal person like you. But that's a humble and modest thing. That back in those days, it was Kermit, and Kermit was still in Rebirth, right, with Phil.
Kermit, I worked with Kermit before Rebirth.
Oh, wow.
I brought up Rebirth, but it was Kermit before Rebirth. Yeah.
So this is when they was like the greatest band in Atlanta. Before that,
it was all around the same time.
Oh, okay.
And I think I met Philip. Well, actually, I'm trying to remember now. I want to say that we may have brought Phil and Keith Frazier and AJ Mallory to play on a Connick song at some point. And I think that's how I kind of really met them in the studio. But Kermit was there too. So that might have been what, and I don't remember what year that was, but that might have been the catalyst for that relationship.
When did you make the last Harry record that you worked on? That that was actually a little more recent, actually.
The last one was a couple of years ago. It was,
but before that, you did a run of maybe 3 records, like right there at the late '80s, early '90s, I think, right?
With Harry.
With Harry, right?
Well, there was at some point, like, I want to say in 2002, I think 2 records came out at once.
Oh, okay.
Early 2000s. It was a Christmas record and another record. They kind of marketed it together to piggyback off of each other. But yeah, the last Harry one was, the last real big one was right before COVID.
Okay.
And it sort of got messed up by it. You know, the promotion was there, everything was in place, and all of a sudden, no, sorry. Not gonna
Shutting everything down.
Yeah, can't do
Same
this.
thing happened to me with the project.
Yeah.
It was terrible for artists, for creators.
Just lost the whole thing. The whole thing's, I mean, it happened, but, you know.
On that note, how did you change and use a different muscle during the COVID? Because I'm pretty sure you were still working. I felt, and Jamie, you can answer this too, I felt like musicians kind of went back to who they were in the beginning during the pandemic. Meaning, like a lot of musicians I talked to was like, man, you know, you always say they're going to do something, they want to do it, but they're too busy. But now they had nothing but all this time to do some of the things and kind of work back on their chops. Was it a lot? Did you feel it was more them finding themselves more, or is it just more? Because I know sometimes people just want to get product out, but they were like slowing it down and changing stuff. And was it?
Well, for me, I got to set up my home studio better. And now I'm kind of stuck there where nobody really wants to pay you to go back to a studio now because nobody knows where you're doing it, you know, and which is a good thing because sometimes you can tell where it was done. But also during that time, I got some challenging recordings to mix because people were recording it at home, which is definitely compromised, you know.
Sure.
So that was a real challenge. I learned some things, some lessons, ways to deal with things that I've never dealt with before, you know, so it was positive on that note, you know, I guess. And I had COVID twice.
So they send you in stuff and you kind of just rework it and then you guys go back and forth because you weren't meeting in person, huh?
Right.
You still probably could have went to some studio and just stayed far away because if you're in a whole nother room and everything.
Nobody was really open. And when people did get together, they wanted COVID tests and you couldn't really get in groups and stuff like that. If I remember correctly, I'm not really sure, but that's what I think was happening.
What do you see different, and as far as when you first started to record with people and work with them to these new modern times, the Mac computers and all this stuff, and you can just stop, chop it, move it over. Like there's a big difference, I would think. Trust me, I don't really know how that all goes down, but I would definitely feel like it went from people having to use a studio and going a certain way to people like I'm in my house on my computer making music by myself.
Well, the same computer's in the studio. Let's start there. And you could use it like a tape machine, or you can use it as a device to manipulate. You could do a lot of things.
Or you can compose on it.
Compose on it. You can, you spit your charts out, you know. The difference now is the proliferation of it. Not everybody knows how to use it. I mean, you can go to Guitar Center. You can buy a guitar. It doesn't mean you can play it, you know. And you have access to all that stuff. Now with the computer stuff, it's getting affordable and cheaper, you know, and so a lot of people have it. But a lot of people don't want to put in the time to really learn the ins and outs of it. I mean, I'm not saying that it's not rocket science, you know. If you understand it, you understand it. If you don't, you don't. I mean, it's like everything else,
right?
You know, so it's just it's accessible, and the youth I've encountered basically want you to tell them, or they believe and they want you to tell them that they know more than you, or they know as much as you, and say, man, you've done this for a year, you know, and I've done it for 30. I might know something you don't.
There may be a few little inside things that I've seen.
But you can, you know, rather than being arrogant and getting into an argument, you kind of let them be arrogant, youth, you know, and you just let them
drive and then run into a dead end and be like, "Not, I told you so, but let's try it this way."
Yeah, and then, you know, you can't really say they're doing something wrong because, you know, what is wrong? There's nothing really wrong. There's no rules. I mean, obviously, musically there are rules. You can't play certain notes in certain keys, and that just, it's there. And it's kind of like that for everything. I've heard a singer tell me that they were singing the wrong note in a chord, and if you say that's the wrong note, and their response is, but it sounds good. And what do you say to that? They like it.
It's their choice.
It's their choice, but it's wrong. So you will perpetually be wrong and mocked by people that know something. But if they don't know, then, you know, whatever. It's kind of it's interesting.
That's a fine line, I feel like, you know, because you're working with a person, you know, in essence, you're working for them, and then they feel like they got a lot of talent, and they know some things, they want to do some things off the realm. How do you kind of balance that with like saying, no, this is not going to work?
To me, that's kind of the producer's most important job, is getting out of the artist what the artist is capable of, and making them feel comfortable doing it.
And make them all. It's a psychological exercise. Is what I say. And if I had to go back to college, I probably would have majored in psychology. but the
really
point is,
good.
you're trying to make people comfortable. You're not trying to make them. You're trying not to make them, say you don't know what you're doing, or you can't. You don't do that. Don't do this. First of all, they've hired you for a reason, and if the reason was just because, then nobody needs to be there. You know, if the reason is if you want my input and advice, you got to take it. I've done records where I've told them, the artist beforehand, I'll say, if you don't want my input or advice, don't hire me to do this. Kind of turned out they didn't really want it. They were going to do what they wanted to do, so I just kind of, whatever. If I saw some blatant mistakes, I'm not going to tell you how to write a song. If you can't write a song, you shouldn't really be doing this. I'm not a songwriter. I don't pretend to be. But, good songs are what makes things, and if you...
So do you? This is off the beating path. Like, do you meditate? Do you put yourself in a place before you go and do some of these things? Because I think you have to have a extremely high level of what's the best way of stress-free thought processes going into these difficult situations. Because here it is. Someone like me who don't know anything, I want to do this song. I want to do this. And I start telling you all this stuff, but that there's a red light there, there's a red flag there, there's a red light. Does that after in a session for so long, you finish and you finally make it through, do you need to go back and just kind of decompress and get out and then, go back to it? Because I can imagine sometimes you can be pretty frustrated with a situation if this person just has their own, because with superstars and people who are very talented, they want to do what they want to do. Mm-hmm. But if you're the person that they're hiring, how do you tell them that that's wrong in a nice way? Or maybe they should try it this way, because
you that's exactly it. You just say, can we get this a different one? Can you try this? Can you try that? While at the time they're doing what they want to do. But you kind of start fishing around and saying, how about we get a line like this?
Or you go, what if? What if in the chorus suddenly there was a bunch of background singers that helped you lift the song?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, wow, what a great idea.
Yeah.
I think I will call my friends to come in and sing.
And the thing is, there's a trick to let the artist think it's their idea. That's one way. That is one way to do it. But that's the reason why you're there. You can hope, to guide them, basically. And some people don't need guidance. Sometimes my role is they want the sound that I get. They want a certain thing.
That's what I thought.
There's multiple levels to this,
So the Tracey Freeman sound, so obviously I don't want you to give it up, but I'm just saying, when people come and it's I like that sound that you did. When you go and cultivate music for people, say if it's Rebirth, say if it's a Hot 8 or both brass bands, do you approach both of them the same way? Because I know some trumpets, some people may have different riffs and different things, but is it it's not a cookie cutter situation? I understand that, but how do you make your sound come out in almost two of the same type brass bands, or is you?
Well, the sound is going to be obviously them. It's the I guess the more of a vibe, the bigger drum sounds. I approach things a certain way. Mm-hmm. Depending on the studio space, that's going to dictate the outcome also. But you probably, if you go listen to all my records, you probably kind of get the notion. I might hate it, but I kind of like an open, big sound. I don't like tight, dead. It's really hard to describe.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
For instance, I've had people ask me, "Can you get me this piano sound that you got on this record that you did with Harry?" And I'm like, "No." Why? I said, because he double tracked the piano himself and played this exact solo on top of himself, and it sounds like an effect, but it's not an effect. The effect is him. So there's a lot of things that happen that, and it's probably historic with bands. Guys have become famous for something that they didn't really do. Right. It's it goes back to the whole famous. I want to sound like John Bonham, but you're not.
You're not hitting the drums that hard. How am I going to make you sound like John Bonham?
You don't have his hands. You don't have his wrist. You don't have the muscle in his shoulder. It's just you play guitar. I mean, somebody picks up your guitar, they're going to sound different than you.
Tone is in the hands of the holder.
Exactly.
That's what my guitar teacher says.
So that happens. You know,
I'm learning a lot here, man. I'm not even a musician. I've been on some things that you did, or like unintentionally.
Over the years, one of the great things about working in music is that music is a real collaborative effort.
Yeah.
You know, without the musicians in the studio, you don't have a job, and without you there, setting the mics up in the right places and controlling the equipment, they don't have a sound.
Sure.
And another thing that you also end up doing is collaborating with other producers or engineers in the studio. Is there someone in New Orleans that you like to collaborate with as a producer? Is there a first call on your list that you like, okay, well, I got a project, I'm going to need an extra guy in here to set up the mics, or is there an engineer that you really like? Or?
I use guys. Yeah, there's guys here. I don't really want to name anybody, to pick anybody out, but the guy I use a lot is Mike Dorsey. He's a guy I met at the music Shed.
Good dude.
Chris Finney was an engineer for a while at the Music Shed with me, and Chris is a good guy. And I like to bounce things off of other people. A producer by the name of John Porter.
Oh yeah,
was here for a long time, and I became friends with him. And he's older than I am, and he had great stories, great ideas, great concepts. I learned a lot of things about recording guitar from him. You know, whether he knows it or not, but I did. Whoever, I've met a lot of guys. And
is there anyone that you wish you would have had a chance to work with that maybe no longer produces music or no longer with us?
Probably Cosmo Matassa is probably somebody I wish I would have been more friends with, or I met him a couple of times, but I was always
legendary.
Yeah, and I'm kind of, I'm not really that aggressive as far as you guys know me.
You're not a star chaser or something like that.
I wouldn't.
I think that's more of the allure to you. I know for me, just being your friend, you're a modest, level-headed guy. You know what I mean? So it seems like you can be stern if you have to, like draw the line. But I think a lot of times when you're doing music, it's people because they like you. They like the way you flow, and you can tell them that's probably not what you want to do, and not hurt their feelings.
Well, I could tell you my Cosmos story that made me. Well, it's not really a story, but I figured out early on that he owned a grocery store in the French Quarter, and somebody said, "Yeah, he's always there." I'm like, "Really?" So I drove down there, parked, walked in the store, and I introduced myself
as
a kid working in the music business, blah blah blah. He's like, "Oh, okay," that was it. And I just said, "Nice to meet you." I turned around and walked out.
But see, you're modest, man. I have that same situation. Like, there's some people who are like, "Hey, man, look, you got to tell me. I want to do this." But you're like, "Okay, I guess that's it. Nice to meet you."
I met Cosmo Matassa. All right.
Yeah, that was it.
I didn't need any olive oil or pasta. So
Exactly. I left. There's a guy, a famous engineer that used to with working with Connick in L.A. This guy Al Schmidt. He used to just kind of walk in our. And this Al Schmidt has done everybody. If you look him up, there's nobody he's not touched in the music world. All the way from who's the guy who's the Sam Cooke.
Oh yeah,
he was the one that was shot, right? Yeah. He that was his first thing was Sam Cooke.
Wow.
And so he was friends with him, and he was with him the night he was killed at dinner. He went ate dinner with him. Anyway, but Alice touched everything from like Rosanna, from the Toto to just everything. But he would walk in on our sessions in L.A., and I was like,
a little nervous.
I was like, I would be like, what's he doing here? Because the assistant that worked with him was on our session. So I'm like, dude, why is he? He goes, he just likes to be in here. I said,
pressure.
I said, yeah, but why is he in here? So anyway, but we became friendly, and he taught me a lot. I learned a lot of stuff from him too. A lot of these older line guys, when I first kind of came around, they knew that I didn't know anything.
Did you ever get a chance to work with Alan Toussaint?
Yes. Okay. Well, sort of. He kind of worked on a Papa Grows Funk record, but nothing really. I didn't really work with him. I spoke to him a lot, but just passing. And, that's about
Why
it.
don't you give us a little list of people just off the top of your head? You don't have to be every single person, but just
Put 'em
some
on the
people.
spot.
Yeah, I mean, no, just the people that you worked with. I mean, it's just, I mean, you can start like from back then to long, like,
Well, let's see, Connick, Leroy Jones, Russell Malone, locally Kermit, Rebirth, Johnny Sketch, Billy Ayuso. I think I've mixed a couple of things for Ivan, Neville.
What about what's his name? Russell. Did you ever do any work with Russell?
Yeah,
Or Wilson
well,
Meter
Russell was
stuff?
in Papa Grows Funk. So
Yeah,
John Grohl,
yep.
Papa Grows Funk. I did some stuff with, Russell was in that band for a while. And
You work with Jelly Bean too.
Jelly Bean was in that band.
So you really hit a lot of big people.
Did you work with Cleary?
I have not worked with Cleary. Cleary, we've kind of batted it around. Well, he mentioned it once, and I never really followed up, and I guess I should. But Cleary's I consider him a good friend. He's a great person, and yeah.
What about someone who you haven't worked with, but you're open to working with them?
It's anybody,
Okay.
as long as I like him. No, I'm just kidding. But it really is. It really is somebody that really wants to.
So the genre
do
of music
something.
doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be brass. It doesn't have to be.
Yeah, I don't care what it is.
It's like a Big Frida call and say, Tracey, I need you to make this sound. Or somebody who's like,
I would be open to that, but I don't think Big Frida would need anything that I would do. I mean, that music is pretty contained. It's one of those, I don't know, call it a bedroom production, but you can do it on a computer, and Big Frida just needs a microphone. Now, if Big Frida wanted to infuse something else, like a live band or something like that, then that probably would be something that I could help with. But as far as that genre, I'm not programming drums. I'm not doing anything like that.
so I saw, I think, Jamie, you were there, and I was complaining a little bit. Not complaining, just like it took me by surprise when I saw Master P play with the Soul Rebels. And man, it was loud. It was really loud. So like a lot of times you tell people if you're in a studio and they're doing like, do you like kind of tell them? I mean, it is your job to tell, like, to get the best product out of them. Like, well, how is it when you have to do difficult things with people, like saying, dude, that is just too much.
Like, is there too much going on? Like,
Yeah.
just actively, like, I don't know what happened with that show. Was it like a
was super
DJ
loud.
and horns? And,
No, they had horns.
It was horns, a DJ, and a rapper.
and a rapper. Any drums with the brass band or?
Yeah.
Yeah, the bass. I'm saying, the tuba.
You'd have to. That's something that you end up recording. Like I can think of one song that was kind of difficult to do, and it was Papa Grows. It was Russell's song called "Soul's Second Line," and I'm trying to get that recording back because I want to redo that record because. That record was made when Pro Tools was kind of in its infancy. And there's a lot of records I want to go back to because I don't think they sound as good as they can. Because
Is that what they call remastering or no?
well, that remastering is when they basically so when you master for records, the volume's lower. So a lot of things like when CDs first came out, they were using vinyl masters on CDs, which was the wrong thing to do, but they did it. And then they said, well, we can get more volume out of this. So let's obviously a marketing ploy in the process. But so now you have these remastered CDs. Now they're louder. Now they have more bass. They have things that you couldn't put on vinyl. Now they're back on the CD. So they're going to inherently sound better, whether you like CDs or not. Now that, they've figured out ways to remaster, remix. They figured out a lot of things to do to get you to buy more. But this would be more remixing. So like the computer, the converters, the effects, everything that was there like in the late 90s, nowhere near what it is now. So a lot of those older records, which unfortunately, I think they exist on a backup tape that David Farrell, who's another engineer, David Farrell, who I learned a jillion from, him and Steve Reynolds from Ultrasonic, he has these tapes. The machine that can get the information off the tape is broken. The computer, it needs a specific backup software to pull it off the tape. And he's got that, but he doesn't have the machine. So
it's there. You just need to get the right tools to get it.
Got to figure it out. And there's people who do restoration that don't have this specific backup program. It was using film. I'm sure there's some way to do it. But Soul Second Line is a song that has a brass band, and then it switches to Russell playing. And then sometimes it's both of them playing together. So imagine two kick drums fighting each other constantly in a song. There's just things about that probably could be done better. But it was a hard one because you're battling just two different things. So the brass band would play, then Russell would play. Then it would go back and forth. And then I think they ultimately ended up playing together, and it kind of sounds chaotic. But and again, when you mention Russell's music, it was a lot of stuff going on all the time. So live, you don't really have the opportunity to try to sift through things and carve things out. So I mean, who knows what the sound guy went through with that? I mean, he could have been going through a nightmare for all we know. But when you're in the studio, you just kind of record it, and you're here, and it's like, oh my God, how am I going to mix this? So you're kind of thinking ahead of time, but you can, you always have the time to go through it and figure it out. So that's kind of what I want to do with those old records. But as far as that live concert, who knows? I don't know with that. If it's loudness live is, some sound guys did do that just to get you going.
Is there a project over the years? One of the things about our business that a lot of people don't realize is that a lot of times things get recorded and a lot of money gets spent on things that never see the radio or a record or a CD, that no one ever gets to listen to for one reason or another. Either the artist isn't happy with it or the label isn't happy with it. Is there a lost project out there somewhere with the Tracey Freeman production on it that you wish people could hear?
Well, man, I'll tell you one thing has never seen the light of day. Harry Connick does a solo piano record every 5 years with 3 guests. And over the years, it's been, he's had a lot of guests on it, and those have never come out. And they're just kind of sitting there.
Wow.
They're just kind of sitting there waiting for something. And
got them in a can, waiting to hit them up.
They're there waiting. There's some interesting collaborations, but not out there.
So that would be definitely one, just
that
like
would
I'm
definitely
talking
one.
about.
It's every 5 years. So imagine that. I think the last record that came out was called 30. So we got 35, 40, 45, 50, 55. We got 5 projects, solo piano projects over time, which is kind of neat. And that was his thing. I'm going to record myself every 5 years to see where I'm at.
Did he ever collab with Henry Butler?
No. I think he kind of considered Henry Butler kind of Harry was younger than him, but there's a lot of guys I think he considers his contemporary. Like, even though he was in it younger, I mean, we're talking, when he was 16, he was playing with people that were way, Bob French was one of his guys that, he was kind of thrown into the fire at the Maison Bourbon, having to learn everything on the fly, basically. Bob French, they just, they didn't really, they just said, play, learn it. And that's kind of how he did,
Come up here, sit there, play it.
Yeah.
Wow, that's some interesting stuff, because a lot of people play by ear, that I find, but then I'm like, do most people that you work with does it make it easier if they know how to read music and stuff like that, or does it?
It depends on the project. Like if you got if you want horn parts, and of course they're gonna have, they can make it. Guys can make it up, but most of the time you have an arranger. It's gonna save you time. Like the guys in Nashville that I've worked with, they listen, they write their own charts. They have a specific way of writing it, and then they just start playing. They're not necessarily, nobody's writing bass line. Well, I'd say I've seen people write bass lines out, because they want a certain thing played. And if you can't read it, you can't read it. But if they know the chord change, you have to know the keys at least the keys. You have to know that.
What's the first Grammy you've been associated with?
It would be Harry. It was a record of, I say children's songs, but it wasn't really kid music. It was like songs from Willy Wonka and Sound of Music and stuff like that.
So those things are locked in forever.
Yeah.
Holy cows! Congratulations.
As a matter of fact, I think that
first one.
That's I think the Rebirth rhythm section was on that. Supercalifragilistic was the song they played on. It was pretty fun.
You work with Mac too, huh? Can you tell us a funny story about Mac? I mean, there's tons of them.
The only thing I really worked directly with him on was the music for the Jungle Book. You were there for that.
I was there for that.
You were there for that. I remember you walking in. That was interesting because it was kind of like, that was real loose, that whole session. The director he almost didn't want anybody to know anything. He just wanted to come in and play. He wanted Kermit to perform like he was just on the fly, basically. And I was like, and then of course the person that was in charge of the score, that wrote the score to the movie, he called me. He goes, yeah, we're not going to do that. So I'm like sitting there like, well, who do I listen to here? Right. You're not the director. You're the
right. You're the.
So we kind of split. We kind of split it. We kind of did it, and he got what he wanted to because there's a version on the Jungle Book record where Kermit and Bill Murray sing together. That was kind of impromptu. They kind of just went in the room and they just kind of started doing it. So when they wanted that version of that. So I took a version of Bill Murray singing, a version of Kermit singing it, and combined it. And the director was like, yeah. He goes, no, let's go with that version when they sang together. And so it's kind of, you can kind of tell. If you really listen to it, you can hear people like moving up to the microphone and moving away and not being quite on it and stuff.
To the trained ear, you guys probably could figure it out, but I probably would be like, man, this sounds great.
Yeah. And I know there was the funniest moment in that session was Christopher Walken was recording I Want to Be Like You. And first of all, they didn't want him to make the monkey sounds. They were trying to say, ooh, ooh, ooh. No. He goes, but why? He goes, that's what a monkey sounds like, And so they went through that. But the funniest thing was, it was like this, the beat was like, it was a New Orleans beat. So it was hard for anyone that doesn't really know that beat. They don't know really where one is because it's not really defined. Like James Brown, everything's on the one. And here's the one. It's not on the one. So he didn't know where to come in. And he's like, I can't. He goes, I don't know where the one. He goes, I got to hear four. I need to hear it was almost like the cowbell skit for real.
I gotta hear four.
Yeah, I can't. I got to hear four. I don't know where. I need to hear the four. No, I'm sorry. Well, I say one. He said, I don't know. I need to hear.
Oh, because that set up the one.
I'm trying to think of how he was saying it, but it was.
He basically couldn't find his way in and out.
He could not find his way in and out. It was like there was a cowbell moment because he kept. I need to hear four. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. I have it on tape. I could probably go back and.
I feel like that whenever I'm listening. I don't know the shit about music, but whenever I'm like, I don't know like where I'm at sometimes. Like a lot of times, and like I remember when I was when you were Tracer, I kept coming in late because I would like. Kermit's wrestling with Treme. I didn't even prepare to be in there. I just go hang out, and all of a sudden I'm in the studio like whistling, and I just could not get that. I must have had some Christopher Walken. I could not get it right on it. You're like, oh, you're right. And so that's what I'm getting at when I'm talking about when you talk to people that know music and they don't know music, you have to click and be like, it's so versatile.
Were you doing it live with the band? Or no? You're doing it
there
by
was
yourself?
Kermit. And no, it wasn't a live. But now I don't remember.
Because the beauty of that is we could have just said, we got it. And
that's exactly what you said. So I wasn't doing it.
Oh, you just moved the whistle to the
same
spot.
Thing with Rebirth too with that one.
Yeah, if you know you got it, somehow you can manipulate it later. It's no big deal. Nobody's going to know it.
That's when Paul St. Raymond gave Tracey the name of the ear.
The ear.
Because the ear kept saying, you need to go in. And, like, he finds this guy, he has an unbelievable knack of finding people's weakness and go, like, you first meet him for the first time and go right in on it. He goes, the ear kept saying that you were coming late. This dude doesn't know shit about music. And he was like on me like butter, bro. And the ear, you couldn't get it right. The ear was, I was like, all right, dude. All right.
I get it. I'm late.
Exactly. The golden ear.
That's funny.
That's the name Tracey has.
That's funny.
So, man, I got to tell you, Tracey, first of all, Jamie and I are thrilled to have you here, man.
I'm thrilled to be here.
We got our new studio here brought to you by NOLA Motorsports Park and Trenas and Scandalous Chocolate. French. These guys have really supported us, kind of like you support the music business. and help people. Like, you think anybody, I know you work with all sorts of people. They don't have to be like a major star. You can get people that are up and coming and all in between.
Yep.
So, any genres of music that you like dipped into and you was like, okay, this is a new thing for me, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, I really like this. Like, you know, like say if it was like, you know, you've done jazz, you've done blues, you've done, okay, what about like some hip hop or some stuff like? You just kind of stay away from those kind of things? Is it like opens up too much? Or
no, because you don't really, you know, like that's a whole different kind of way of working. From what what I've seen, you know, with the hip hop especially, is that, well, maybe not so much the local stuff here, but like on the broader scale, there's a lot of guys working. There's a lot of guys, you know, when you look at records and you see a record, well, you know, when I see records of a simple song and it's got like 10 producers and 12 writers, you're like, well, what does that mean? I don't even know what that means. You know, I mean, I guess they all do something, you know.
Right.
And
one guy's handling the hook. You know,
yeah,
one guy,
exactly. Or a word. Or
do you think that's overkill? Or do you
I don't know what it is, but I don't know how people are getting money from that. Obviously, yeah, if you're selling millions of product, you know, obviously there's money to go around, but I don't really understand the concept of it. I mean, I hear music, I'm like, why did they need so many people to come up with that?
Tracey, do you have any advice for young people who are looking to get into music production? Just some real surface level advice. Just like
listen. I mean, you have to, because I mean, you know, I'd say go to school, but I mean, that's kind of the obvious answer. And I wish I may have. You know, there was suggestion to me when Berkeley started their production school for, you know, Delphio Marsalis said, man, you got to go there. I'm like, I'm already 3 years wasted in college. I'm not going to start over. And that's how I felt about it. But he had gone there. You know, he was in it. And I didn't really have any interest in that at that point. I felt that it would be detrimental. I felt like I was going to remove myself from something that I would miss out on, you know, if I did remove myself from it. So
well, it's hard when you're a professional already to think that you're going to go back and sit in a classroom with a bunch of people who've never done it.
Or if you think you're a professional.
Right, if you think you're.
You know, there's some, yeah. So, I mean, I thought that I was, and obviously maybe it worked out, but you know, I think some people think that they're further along than they really are. The advantage of some of the schools is you get to, depending on the city, you get to intern in studios, which is, I think, maybe becoming something that's not really happening, you know, since so many are closing down. I mean, you have Blackbird in Nashville, still have the Blackbird Academy. In New York, Berkeley has bought the Power Station. So they have a studio running, you know, basically there's the intern there, you know, one of the biggest studios in New York that's left. But here, you know, I don't know where you would go intern. You know, if you went to Loyola, you know, and I know that there's a lot of guys that go out and do live sound, and you know, I'm not so sure that. Yeah, and I really don't know what road you would take after you finish the course. You know,
right.
Go work a television station or
set up your own studio.
Set up your own studio. Yeah, try to go that route. Of course, monetarily, that could be a challenge to some people. It's hard, and I don't really know the answer. I don't know. I mean, I know I see guys circulating in town, you know, that have come out of the programs, and you know, a lot of them probably leave,
right?
You know, because there's nothing really to hold them here.
Do you ever get anybody calling you saying, "Hey, man, can you train me? Can I work under you?"
No. I mean, you know, I've come across guys who ask me, "What are you doing there?" or "What is that?" or you know, and it's hard to say. You know, like you can look at what somebody does and not have the same result. I mean, Al Schmidt being the person. I mean, I watched what he did. I tried to do exactly what he did. Sounded nothing like what he did. Why? I have no freaking idea. You know, but it's just a microphone. You think, you know, but there's something the way he did it was, you know, once he got a hold of it later, it just, you know. There was just.
Is that the kind of thing that always happens with guys like you? Like, so people go and they put their own fingerprint on it, which makes their own sound, kind of.
Well, there's a lot. Yeah. And there's a lot of. I mean, it just depends on the combination of compressors you use, the combination of mics mic pre's. It's just a combination of a lot of things. Reverb you choose. Everybody's different.
Full disclosure, Tracey had a hand with Jamie
He
and
was a
all the helping us
consultant on
consulting here.
our
We had,
setup, yeah.
Yeah.
So do you get a lot of consulting gigs? Like you come in and just kind of be like, yes, no, maybe, try this.
I'll tell you this: the records that I know that people want me to just mix, I will go look and see what's happening on the session because there may be something missing that I want to have in a mix.
Did you learn that from the guy who was out there, was always in there, who worked with everybody, and he just kind of put his eyes on it before he put like his energy into it? That's kind of what you're doing. You go in and look at it, put your eyes on certain things, and like if you see something, you kind of make a mental note, and if you're going to go back and do something, like I remember this, let's try it this way. That's kind of how your fact-finding mission, so to speak.
At this point, it's sort of like I know what I would do. I know things that I want, and if I don't like, that doesn't mean that the engineer that's doing this thing knows that. And so, if they don't have a second drum room mic up, in a corner or something, I'm being silly about it,
Right.
but I want that. Don't give me the crushed mic that I don't necessarily want to be part of my sound because I might crush it a different way. But a lot of engineers like to throw that in there. They're not mixing the record. So sometimes it's cool to have if you don't have that analog box, but nobody's going to know that.
What's some of the music that you love, like kind of before and right before you got deep into the music? What kind of music were you listening to? I'm curious. Like, what was some of the back in the day music that you're like, dude, this is killer. I love the way this sounds. And then, like just
Some
like
of your
something-
influences, maybe.
Yeah. Good. Just
Well,
good.
when I was a kid, it was just like the music of the day, like pop music. I mean, obviously everybody loved Led Zeppelin. I love Led Zeppelin, Aerosmith, all those rock bands that were kind of popular in the mid-70s. I was born in '67, so it's right when I was 10 years old.
67 here.
Everybody was kind of like there, Journey, all those popular rock bands, and some of the sounds of those things were, interesting. Zeppelin, being kind of like the recordings that people always kind of flock to because they were doing things that were different drummer. Like that guy's style just lent to it, and a lot of the drummers in the 70s, they were still coming out of the 60s and they still kind of had a jazz mentality with their drum kits. And so they didn't sound like when you get to like the 80s sound of before drum machines, like the strange sound of 80s metal, that didn't even sound like drums, but you kind of had to have that sound. But just like, before, drum machines don't really sound like drums a lot of times. But strangely, I started listening to jazz music, and I don't really remember how. My parents had these records of all these weird orchestras, like the Mantovani Orchestra, like these weird, just like it's maybe Muzak basically, and they had all these records, and I just started listening to them. So but they were all like standards in jazz music that were played.
Autumn Leaves.
Autumn Leaves, April in Paris. It's just songs like that, but riddled through these records. So I knew all these songs, and then I started listening to these jazz records, or I want to say probably was. Oddly enough, our friend Fred Caston hosted a jazz show on WWNO for years. And I think
Hail the King.
first started listening to him a lot. But it was in high school, and I don't really know at what point, but I discovered OZ. It was like the only jazz station in the city, really. And still probably is. But
You started putting those together.
Yeah, and then when I got in college, I would skip class and go to the music library and just sit there and listen to records and read books and look at how they set up recordings. And, I didn't know then that these were staged photographs a lot of times. And so
you're looking at the way they got the mic set up, and you're like, but wait a minute.
completely
the
wrong.
mic's backwards.
Exactly. So that was one thing I did do. Another thing, Delphio Marsalis, he had a perk. He had gotten these photographs from actual sessions. So he called me up one day and said, "Hey man, come see these pictures." And so we were sitting there looking at Duke Ellington sessions, like with the mics set up like
Duke.
like for real, and I'm like, oh, okay. And of course, went and tried it. Didn't sound anything like so it didn't really work. I still don't, I think partly, there's like sometimes these records, they're recorded in more dead rooms than you think they were. In New York, there were real live rooms, and we were in the New York, and we were trying to do what maybe we saw somewhere else, and just didn't work. It just stupid.
Right. You don't know what's outside the frame on the picture.
We just had to figure it out. It's one of those things. But luckily,
You got a guy out there, somebody out there that's young and up and coming, that you would like to work with, but you haven't worked with him, and then just some good music that people want to listen to that you can give somebody a little something to listen to. Like for me and Trey, we didn't listen to some music we hadn't heard, or just some off the beating path thing. Like, because some things become so mainstream and everybody was like, "Oh, this guy's the guy." But just something maybe just a little bit different that people don't always hear, that you ran across, that you felt like, this has got some potential.
Oh, potential that's like unheard yet?
Someone is there an undiscovered artist we need to put on our radar?
I don't really know.
Okay,
honestly,
that's a good question. That means that
really
you
don't
definitely
know.
filled out everything and looked around.
I'm not really looking.
Right.
I'm not really functionally looking.
I love that. I love the energy that Tracey has. Like you think because of all the accolades, all the awards, all the famous people you've worked with, you to have like this certain thing that you will do, you won't do. I'm sure there's some of that, but more what I'm getting from you is like you're always willing to learn. You're always willing to say, well, maybe that might have worked with this person, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work with this person. So it seems like there's a lot of information in there that you could go off and kind of get the big head about, but you're constantly very like balanced in a sense where you're like, I don't know everything. There is a lot of stuff out there. People do it different ways. I looked at it and I understand that if you try and copy off of something, it may not come out the same way. So I just think that all of that stuff there is keeping you humble in a sense, because you're like, you never know what you feel like. I got it.
I guess, but but the thing about it is, you also have to go into these situations. You have to have confidence. I mean, in what you're doing. I mean, I've been in a lot of situations where it's like, what do we do? We got to deal with it, and can't get upset. Can't, letting stuff get to you kind of like is the road to failure.
In the studio too, I can imagine, because you give that
it's in
energy
everything,
off to
really.
someone else.
It's in a lot of things, and you have to have, I'm pretty confident in what I do. That's not to say that I am a know-it-all, or it's just you have to have some sort of level of confidence. You have to,
I like how you utilize the word confidence, because I think the confidence sometimes in some businesses, especially in situations like you guys, when you get accolades, it can almost give you this false sense of invincibility, so to speak. Like you walk in and you're like, hey, look, like when we do this show,
or arrogance.
I always feel like
confidence
we're always learning. I mean, I'm always leaning on Jamie to learn, and I'm always down that road. But, if we got a bunch of accolades, a bunch of like awards and things like that, almost like the natural thing is to start thinking that you have it and you're what makes it happen. But how do you keep yourself so just grounded to like, I don't know everything, and it can be different. And I mean, it's just like you're just the way that you were wired.
I guess that's the way I'm wired.
Trial and error.
I mean, I think
just like keeping the people calm in the room whenever they don't know something. But when you're walking in, I always use the analogy of a fireman. You can't be afraid of heat if you know, but that's a part of the job.
Yeah.
Right. So when you go in and it's going to come to a point where it's going to be a dead end. Like you may not that you're looking for that, but how you handle that situation could be the difference. Right. Like say if you go in and like, oh man, this is not working, and they keep trying to do the same thing, and then you just have to be like, okay, like y'all said, let's just try it this way, and maybe we'll look at it and maybe something will come up, but then working with the artists who have really big egos, a lot of them, especially when they're really good, like they do something almost like a business. When you do something and you make money with it as a business, I find that business owners don't want to change. They want to keep going down that road where they were successful. But what you're saying is that's not really how it works in production and producing and all. It's like you don't always do the same thing that worked before because it may not work.
No, and you have to kind of you do have to shift with things. I mean, there are trends, there are fads, there are stuff like that. I mean, you don't want to admit it, but there is. I mean, it's kind of like, well, I'm going to keep doing this. Well, you know, you better be really freaking good at it if you're going to keep doing it. Yeah, you know. I mean, I know a lot of bands that they have played. Well, you could use like bands like AC/DC. They've made 13 of the same records, you know, basically, and it's awesome. They're not going to change. Why would they? You know. And
See, that balance,
I know
too,
a lot of.
That's the part that's really intriguing to me. Like that balance. Like I guess you just have to know how many times you've done it and what you've seen, and you realize that it doesn't work like that because you do see some things that people are doing over and over and over, and it works. But then I guess it's just a fine line. You have to know how many recordings you think you've done.
I don't know.
Over
100.
That's what I was about to say. Over 100.
I haven't really counted.
So there's a lot of trial and error in there, and a lot of things that you've done, and you've seen a lot of things change, and
there's a lot of repetition in there too. I mean, because if you know it works, it works. You can't really, you know, why reinvent the wheel if somebody's asking you to, then, or if you don't really feel like doing it that day, then why do it? You know.
Tracey, I want to thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, man.
It's been great having you in here. And I also want to thank you for just being so open with your talents and with your experience in our community, because I know myself included and a lot of other musicians, while not everyone has worked with you personally in the studio, we've all come to you for advice. We've all listened to music with you and gotten your feedback on how things sound and what we should do with recordings and strategies for recording. And just thank you for being such a great resource for our community.
You're welcome.
Absolutely. I like to double back on that same thing. But one of the things I wanted to say was, how do people get in touch with you if they want to hire you? And the second part is, do you have anything out there that you would like people to know about that you're working on right now or that's coming out?
Not really.
Okay.
The contact, I mean, I did, you know.
Do you have a website?
I don't.
Do you have a social media?
Nothing.
See, that's a beautiful thing
It's
right
not,
there.
It's
That's
not there.
It's all.
If you want to find Grammy Award-winning producer Tracey Freeman, you can look for him around town.
If you see him, grab him.
I'll be around. Maybe by the time this airs, you can put my email on the bottom of the screen.
There you
Okay.
go.
All
That's
right.
what
We'll get your email in the comments.
All right.
And then we'll get you some influx on it. But Tracey, Jamie said it, but we really do appreciate you coming here, man. You can come and do anything and talk to anybody. We really feel great to have you here because of all the accolades and who you are. You're a personal friend of ours, too, full disclosure. We really have utilize you a lot, and a lot of people in New Orleans utilize you a lot too, and you're definitely a cultural barrier, I would feel, and you help bring the culture to the world, and we appreciate that, man.
Thanks.
You're one of the people who does what our mission is, and that's put good vibes in people's lives, and you do it through music and through your work with the music community. Thank you so much.
And he makes some money and gives them a really good reputation. That's good stuff.
Thanks, guys.
Anything you want to tell anybody out here in the world? You want to express your feelings about the New Orleans Saints, the Pelicans?
Wrong show. Wrong show.
He's a New Orleanian, man. He can tell you.
We're just waiting.
You got it right here on the Only Good Vibes News Network. Pelicans.
We'll have you on our sister show as the Pelicans develop their season on the 504 FanCave. We'll talk about the Pelicans.
I'd love to.
We have a big we have a lot of people who are unhappy with the sports play of the teams, and so we have a show where people voice that opinion. We all commiserate together.
Well, we could be unhappy, but we're not we're just spectators. Unhappy spectators.
There you go, folks. So thanks again to all our sponsors, NOLA Motorsports Park, Frenchie Live, Tranas, and Scandalous Chocolates. And to all of our viewers, as Jamie would always like to say, like, share, and comment. And
remember, the world is full of good people.
If you don't see one, be one, like this guy right here. Awesome. And Tracey, we love you, man, and we can't say thanks enough. Who dat?
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for joining us on the Only Good Vibes News Network.
All right.
Yeah, you're right, brother.
But we got a vibe, y'all. We got a vibe. I can tell by your smile that you're in my tribe. We got a vibe.